In this third part of the discussion on change of basis, let us consider the relation between eigenvalue problem and change of basis. We know that eigenvalue problem is related to diagonalization. Eigenvalue problem of a matrix is related to diagonalization of the matrix, and in this class we will see how this idea of eigenvalue problem or diagonalization is connected to change of basis. Okay, let us consider an operator B. Okay, now suppose its matrix elements are known in the basis, let us say ket AK, where this k runs from 1 to n. Suppose we are in an n-dimensional space, so there are n bases. Okay, so this is the old basis, let us say, and in this basis the matrix elements of this operator B or the matrix B are known. Now we want to find out the eigenvalues and eigenkets of this operator or this matrix. We know that if we express an operator in its own eigenkets, then the corresponding matrix will be diagonal matrix. Okay, let us briefly review that. Consider an operator A. Okay, suppose this eigenkets AK, these bases AK are the eigenkets of this operator. Then if we express this operator, what are the matrix elements of this operator in this in its own eigenkets? Consider the let's say ijth element, matrix element of this operator. So ijth matrix element will be like this, AI. Okay, this is the ijth matrix element of the operator A in a basis, and this basis are its own eigenkets. Okay, so this index represents the ith row and this index represents the jth column. Okay, we know this. Now since these are eigenkets of the operator A, what happens when A operates on its eigenket Aj? We will get the eigenvalue. Okay, so this is equal to graph vector Ai. We get the eigenvalue Aj here and ket Aj. And this is a this is a Hermitian operator, so this is a real eigenvalue. We can take it outside the inner product, so we get Aj, and here we have this inner product between Ai and Aj. This is the eigenvalue, and this is equal to, what is the inner product between Ai and Aj? These are the eigenkets of the operator A. This is a Hermitian operator. Its eigenkets are orthogonal to each other and they are also normalized. So these are orthonormal. So when these eigenkets are these two vectors are orthonormal to each other, this is the orthonormality between them. The inner product will be delta ij. That means when I is equal to j, it will be equal to the norm of the vector, which is 1. Okay, when I equal to j, this Kronecker delta is 1. Whereas when I is not equal to j, these are two different eigenkets. They are orthogonal to each other. The inner product is 0. So the Kronecker delta when I not equal to j gives 0. So both the normalization condition and the orthogonality is imbibed in this Kronecker delta. So we get this. But let us look at the left hand side again. This represents the ijth matrix element of A. And here we see is that what we see here is that this is equal to Aj times delta ij. That means when I is not equal to j, we get 0. That means when I is not equal to j, when row index and column index are different, we get 0. That is, all the off diagonal elements are 0. When I is I is not equal to j. Okay. Whereas when I is equal to j, this is 1. Because Kronecker delta gives 1 and we get some value here. I is equal to j means the row index and column index are same. That means only diagonal elements. So the diagonal elements are we get the value here, and these diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of the matrix. So what is the result here? We have seen this result before. I have just reviewed it. What we see here is that when we express a matrix in its own eigenkets, okay, the matrix will be diagonal, and the diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of the matrix. Okay, this we know. Now come back to this problem. We have a matrix B, we have an operator B. We know its matrix elements in a basis AK. These bases are not the eigenbases of this, or these are not the eigenkets of B. Then if already we know the eigenkets, then we don't, the eigenvalue problem itself is solved. We don't know the eigenkets of B. We want to find out the eigenvalues and eigenkets of B. Okay. We also know that when we express a matrix, when we express an operator in its own eigenkets, the corresponding matrix is a diagonal matrix. It means that if we express B in its eigenkets, let us say its eigenkets are some BL. Okay, we want to express B in its eigenkets. We don't know what they are. But we want, if we express B in its eigenkets, if we express an operator in its own eigenkets, the corresponding matrix will be diagonal. Okay, so we know that if you express B in its eigenkets, we get a diagonal matrix. Okay. What are the diagonal elements? The diagonal elements are the from this we know that the diagonal elements are the eigenvalues. That means the diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of B. Okay. So finding the eigenvalues and eigenkets of B is equivalent to diagonalizing B. Okay, eigenvalue problem is equivalent to diagonalization of a matrix. That much we know. But one more interesting point is that it also shows that, okay, when you express B in its own eigenkets, it becomes a diagonal matrix with the diagonal elements as the eigenvalues of B. It shows that finding the eigenvalues and eigenkets, or diagonalizing a matrix, okay, is equivalent to a change of basis. We know B in a given basis AK, in an old basis AK. So what we want to find out is changing from this old basis AK to this new basis BL. Okay, what we want is this change of basis. From a given basis, which is not the eigenbasis of B, to the eigenbasis of B. Okay, these are not the eigenkets of B, but we know B, we know the matrix elements of B in this basis. What we want is a change of basis to the eigenkets of B. Then, if we express B in its own eigenkets, we get a diagonal matrix with the diagonal elements as the eigenvalues. So the point is, the eigenvalue problem or the diagonalization of the matrix of an operator is equivalent to a change of basis from a given basis to the eigenbasis. Okay, so let us so then we know a change of basis. We know that a change of basis is a unitary transformation. So in order to produce a change of basis, we need a unitary operator. So the question is, what is the corresponding unitary operator? Or the question is, how to construct a proper unitary operator so that the operator B, the matrix elements of B in a given basis can be changed to its own eigenkets. Okay, so that B is diagonal. So how to make this change of basis from the given basis to the eigenbasis of B, or how equivalently how to construct a proper unitary operator that can produce this change of basis. This is what we want to find out. Okay, what is the connection between this diagonalization and change of basis? How we can construct a proper unitary operator for this change of basis. The eigenvalue equation for B is, let us say, operator B acting on its eigenkets, let us say BL, ket BL is equal to some eigenvalue BL times ket BL. Okay, so if we finally solve the eigenvalue equation of B, we will get this type of this is an eigenvalue equation for operator B. Remember, we don't know what this eigenkets are or the eigenvalues are. We want to find out that. Now, what we know is that we know the the matrix elements of B in the basis AK. Okay, so let us try to express the matrix elements of B in the old basis AK. Also these eigenkets of B also in the components of eigenkets of B in the old basis AK. Okay, let's try to express that. So everything let us try to express in the old basis AK. So this is the old basis. Let us say AK. K runs from 1 to n, capital N, and it's an n-dimensional space. So first I will introduce on the left side, let us introduce the completeness condition of this old basis. Let us say sum over M B. I will introduce the completeness condition here. So ket AM, bra vector AM. So the sum over M, ket AM, bra vector M, AM should be identity. Okay, that's the completeness condition of the old basis. And we have this ket BL here, this one. So that completes the left hand side. Right hand side is the same, BL times ket BL. Okay. Now let us take inner product with the bra vector, let's say bra vector AK. Okay, so that we get the matrix element of B in completely in A. That's the idea. So sum over M, take the inner product with the bra vector AK on both sides. So we have a bra vector AK, B, AM. Then we have this AM, BL. On the right hand side also this bra vector AK should come. Okay, we are taking the inner product with bra vector AK from on the left side and right side. So on the right side, this BL is a scalar, a real scalar, it's an eigenvalue. So the inner product is between bra vector AK and ket BL. Okay. So we have this equation. See, these are the matrix elements of B in the old basis AK. What are these? These are the components of the eigenkets of B in the old basis AK. These are again the components of eigenkets of B in the old basis AK. Okay, so everything we have expressed, both the matrix elements of B and the eigenkets of B in the old basis AK. And now let us introduce a notation, a shorthand notation, and see how this can be converted into matrix language. Okay, so let us define this one. Let us define B K is equal to AK B A. Obviously, these are the matrix elements of B in the old basis AK. And here, let me introduce this notation CKL. Okay, CKL is equal to AKBL. Okay, so I am using this in a particular, I am writing this in a particular way. L I have written as a superscript. Okay, so CKL is AKBL. What are these? These are the components of the eigenkets of B in the old basis AK. Okay, and here also you can see that this is according to this notation, this must be CML. Instead of K we have M, that's all. Components of eigenkets of B in the old basis. So this L we have written as superscript because it stands for the Lth eigenket. Okay, so we can say CKL is the components of Lth eigenket of B in the old basis. Naturally, this is CML, components of the Lth eigenket of B in the old basis. Okay. Now, if we use this notation here, okay, what we get is sum over M, okay, BKM. What is this? This is according to this notation, this is CML equal to BL times, and that part is CKL. Right, and this summation is from 1 to capital N. It's an n-dimensional space. So this equation This is the, let's see how we are proceeding. This is the eigenvalue equation of B. We have expressed this when we come here, from here to here, we have expressed the eigenvalue equation of B in terms of the components in the old basis AK, because we know the matrix elements of B in the old basis. So we have expressed this in the old basis. So the matrix elements of components of B in the old basis, in other words, the matrix elements of B in the old basis, and the components of eigenkets of B in the old basis. And this we have expressed simply in a shorthand notation like this. Okay. Let us see what this means. Let us try to expand this. And here we can see that this K runs from 1 to n. Why? Because see, these are the n matrix, n basis of these are the old bases, and what are the number of base vectors equal to the dimension of the vector space n. So this K runs from 1 to n, and m also runs from 1 to n. It's a repeated index, so it runs from 1 to n. Okay. Whereas on the right side also K should run from 1 to n. Okay. So it's a free index. K is a free index, m is a dummy index. Okay. M runs from 1 to n on one side, and K we can choose in each step. And this L is a fixed index. Okay. L is also a free index. We can fix that. Now here it doesn't mean that L comes twice, but it's a superscript. Okay, it only means that Lth eigenvalue and Lth components of Lth eigenket. That's all. There is no repeated index here. It doesn't mean any summation. Okay. So L is also acting as a free index. K is also acting as a free index. So this is the eigenvalue equation. See here. This is the eigenvalue equation for the Lth eigenvalue and Lth eigenket of B. And this we have simply written down in a shorthand notation form. Now I am going to show that this is connected to the eigenvalue equation of B in the matrix form, or this you can express in the matrix form. In order to see that, let us expand this using different values of m and k. For k is equal to 1, okay, what is the left hand side? So k is 1. So here also you put k equal to 1, here also put k equal to 1. So left hand side you have n terms, right? So there is summation over m. So what you have is b11 first term. Put k is already 1, and here put m runs from 1 to n. So b11 c1l plus next term is b1, k is 1, but next term is m equal to 2. So b12 c2l plus etc. plus b1n capital N, and m runs from 1 to n, right? cnl equals, on the right side we have bl c, k is 1 l. So this is for k equal to 1. So next is k equal to 2. K has n values, right? So when you put k equal to 2, we have b2, and similarly m runs from 1 to n. Here also put k equal to 2. Okay. So we have b21 c1l, b22 c2l plus etc. b2n cnl equals bl c2. Here put k equal to 2, right? c2l. So this will go on until k is equal to n. So for k equal to n, we have bn1 c1l plus bn2 c2l plus etc. bnn cnl equals bl, k is equal to n here, cnl. Okay. So we have n linear equations here. For each value of k, you have a linear equation. Okay, so for n values of k, we have n linear equations. These n linear equations we can express in matrix form. This is the matrix form. These n linear equations we can express in matrix form like this. Okay. So this is an n by n matrix, which is the which form the matrix elements of the operator B in the old basis A, and this is an n by 1 matrix. These are the components of the lth eigenket of B in the old basis, and this is the eigenvalue, lth eigenvalue. Again, these are the n components of the lth eigenket of B in the old basis. We can verify that. See the first line, we get the first linear equation, B11 C1L, okay, B12 C2L, etc. B1n CNL equal to BL C1L. In this way, each line corresponds to the product, each product here, each row here. So we started with expressing the eigenvalue equation of B in the abstract form. Now we have arrived at the matrix form. How do we get this? We expressed the operator B in the old basis AK. So the matrix elements of B are expressed in the old basis. Similarly, the components of the eigenkets of B are also expressed in the old basis. Okay. Now, how do we find? So this is the matrix form of the eigenvalue equation of B. How do we find the eigenvalues and eigenvectors of a matrix? The non-trivial solutions of this matrix eigenvalue equation is possible only if determinant B minus lambda I is equal to 0. Okay, where B is the matrix of B. This capital B is the matrix of the operator B, this matrix. So this is the condition for the non-trivial solutions of this equation, and this is an nth order polynomial, capital nth order polynomial, and these has n roots. These n roots of this equation, this is called the characteristic equation of the matrix B. The n roots of this equation form the n eigenvalues of this operator B. Okay, so in an n-dimensional space, an operator has n eigenvalues. Its characteristic equation will be an nth order polynomial, and it has n eigenvalues. So if it's an n-dimensional vector space, an operator has n eigenvalues. Okay, and once we know the eigenvalues, for each eigenvalue we can solve this equation and find the components of this the eigenkets. Okay, so that is how we solve it. So that is a standard way of solving the direct way of solving the eigenvalue equation. And once we express this operator B in the eigenkets of in its own eigenkets, we get a diagonal matrix. Okay. So our problem is, let's come back to our problem. So we know that finding the eigenvalue, so finding the eigenvalues of B finding the eigenvalues and eigenkets of B is equivalent to diagonalizing B, expressing B in the eigenkets of B, so we get a diagonal matrix. Now how do we make the change of basis from the A basis, okay, from the basis AK to the basis BL, ket BL, from ket AK to ket BL, so that we get a diagonal matrix for B, operator B. And for that, let us look at our previous equations and see the connection. Earlier we have written down this notation CKL. This was AKBL. Okay. In other words, these are the components of the eigenkets of B in the old basis AK. But this expression, in the previous class we have seen that when you have this type of an inner product where the bra vector is the old basis and ket vector is the new basis, this you can express as the matrix element of the unitary operator that produces the change of basis from the old basis AK to the new basis BL. In other words, this you can write as bra vector AK, and this new basis BL, ket BL. Okay, basically here what happens is we are moving from the old basis set AK okay, to the new basis set Ket BL. That's what is happening here under a unitary transformation U. Okay. Then how do we express the new basis in terms of the old basis? The new basis is obtained by the unitary operator U acting on the old basis. Let me say AL. Okay, this is Ket AL. Right? So the unitary operator acting on the old basis, we get the new basis. Therefore, instead of this Ket BL, I can write U acting on Ket AL. Okay, so the Lth eigenvector, these are the components of the Lth eigenvector. Remember, K has n values. So these are the n components of the Lth eigenvector in the old basis. So we can say that this Lth eigenvector, components of the Lth eigenvector, or this matrix element, this is equal to the matrix element of U, K Lth matrix element of U. So the point is the Lth column of this, see, this is the kth row and Lth column of this particular matrix element is the K Lth matrix element in kth row and Lth column, right? So if you go to the next this is the Lth eigenvector, components of the Lth eigenvector. If you go to the next eigenvector, what you get is the next element in the Lth column, right? I mean, my point is that the Lth eigenvector of B constitutes the Lth column of this unitary operator. Okay. See, these are the components of the Lth. This is the kth component of the Lth eigenvector, right? And what you get here is the K Lth matrix element, right? So let us fix the value of L. K runs from 1 to n. Then what do you get? Okay, you have the Lth eigenvector. Then suppose K runs from 1 to n. So what you get is a column vector like this. Remember, this column vector is this one, C1L, C2L, etc., CNL. This is the first component of Lth eigenvector, second component of Lth eigenvector, like that. So these are the n components of the Lth eigenvector. Okay. See, when you take the first component of the Lth eigenvector, you get A1UAL, right? The first element in the Lth column of U. When you take the second component of the Lth eigenvector, you get A2UAL, the second element in the Lth column of U. Okay, so basically this will constitute the Lth column of U. Okay, if you write down the Lth column of U, what are the elements? A1UAL, A2UAL, etc., etc., right? So it's exactly this. So the point is the Lth eigenvector of operator B constitutes the Lth column of U. Okay, so this gives you an idea about what type of a unitary operator is required to produce this change of basis from the old basis to the eigenbasis of B. This unitary operator should be like this. The unitary operator should be composed of each column should be each eigenvector of B. Okay, so one eigenvector, first eigenvector, first eigenket of B. Then second row is second eigenket of B, like that. That's how we construct the unitary operator. See, the Lth row, Lth column will be this, the Lth eigenket of B. So if you construct a unitary operator such that each column is an eigenket of B, okay, so this then this unitary operator will produce the correct transformation from a given basis, from the old basis where the matrix elements of B are known, to the new basis, which is the eigenbasis of B. Okay, so this is the correct the unitary matrix for that. And Then what is the form of B in this under this unitary transformation? Under a unitary transformation, the vectors will change like this. How does the operator change? The operator change like this. The B will change to some B prime, which is equal to U dagger B. Okay, if you construct, so once we know the eigenkets of B, you can construct this unitary operator. Then U dagger B will change under the unitary transformation like this. U dagger B, that will be the new operator, right? So this new operator B prime, when you do this unitary transformation, you get the new operator B prime, and that will be diagonal. That will be exactly diagonal. With the diagonal elements will be the, because this is the, here this unitary transformation is the change of basis from the old basis to the new basis, right? So now this U dagger BU gives the matrix B in the new basis BL, and this matrix will be diagonal. From the point of view of unitary transformation, how does this happen is, when you do this unitary transformation, you get B as a diagonal matrix. And how do we know that the diagonal elements are the eigenvalues? Okay, we know that the new basis is the eigenbasis of B. When you express B in its eigenbasis, you get the form as the diagonal, and with the diagonal elements will be eigenvalues. Or we can also say that this is a unitary transformation. Okay. The sum of the diagonal elements of a matrix, that is trace of a matrix. We know that the trace of a matrix is sum of the diagonal elements. See, trace of a matrix is there is a result that in general, if you have an n by n matrix or a square matrix, the trace of a matrix is sum of eigenvalues of the matrix, right? Sum of the eigenvalues of the matrix. And when you do this unitary transformation, we know that under a unitary transformation, trace is invariant. Trace doesn't change. So when you do this unitary transformation, the trace of this operator is same as trace of this operator. Okay, and this is a non-diagonal element, a non-diagonal matrix, but this is a diagonal matrix. Only diagonal elements are there. So the trace of this should be the same as trace of this, because trace is invariant under unitary transformation. So what is trace? Trace is also sum of eigenvalues of a matrix. Sum of diagonal elements. It's also sum of eigenvalues. So here also it is sum of eigenvalues. Here also it is sum of eigenvalues. But in this case, the difference is that here the matrix itself is diagonal. So it's diagonal, and trace is sum of eigenvalues. So then the only choice is that these diagonal elements are nothing but the eigenvalues. So from that point of view also, it's clear that once you do this unitary transformation, we get a diagonal matrix. Since trace is invariant, these diagonal elements should be eigenvalues. Okay, because trace is also the sum of the eigenvalues. Okay, so what we have established is that solving the eigenvalue problem of an operator, in other words, diagonalizing an operator, is equivalent to finding a correct unitary transformation for the change of basis from an old basis to the new basis, where the new basis is the eigenbasis of the operator. Okay, when you construct when you make such a unitary transformation, when you construct such a unitary operator and do the unitary transformation, then the operator will undergo the transformation like this, and the new operator will be diagonal, and the diagonal elements will be the eigenvalues. Okay, let's consider this problem. You can do this as a homework. Consider a matrix. Okay. You can see that this is a Hermitian matrix. A dagger is equal to A. Okay. So the importance of a Hermitian matrix is that in quantum mechanics, every operator is a Hermitian operator. So the corresponding matrix of the Hermitian operator is a Hermitian matrix. And in the context of this diagonalization, if you look at the Hermitian matrix, see, we have seen that this diagonalization is a change of basis, and the correct unitary operator for the change of basis for this diagonalization is you have to construct a unitary operator. Each column of the unitary operator must be the eigenvector of the operator which we want to diagonalize. Then if you are in an n-dimensional space, the unitary operator should be an n by n matrix. So how many columns are required? N columns are required. Each column is an eigenket of the operator D. Okay, so that means n eigenkets are required. In an n-dimensional space, any operator has n eigenvalues. But it is not necessary that the number of eigenkets is equal to the dimension of the vector space. In the case of a Hermitian operator, we know that the eigenkets form a complete set. What is the meaning of that? If the vector space is n-dimensional, the number of eigenkets of the Hermitian operator is equal to the dimension of the vector space. So there will be n eigenkets for the Hermitian operator. So this condition is required for constructing the unitary operator, because the number of columns should be, unitary operator should be n-dimensional, that means n by n. So n columns are required. Each column must be an eigenket of the operator B, so that means there should be n eigenkets. Okay, so in an n-dimensional space, the operator should have n eigenkets. Hermitian operator as well as unitary operator satisfy this property. The eigenkets form complete set. Okay, so when you come back to Hermitian operator, in quantum mechanics, every physical quantity is represented by a Hermitian operator, and now we see that it's possible to diagonalize Hermitian operator, because it's possible to construct a proper unitary matrix using the eigenkets of the Hermitian operator. The reason is that the eigenkets of the Hermitian operator form complete set. Okay, so every Hermitian operator we can diagonalize. So this is also a Hermitian operator. Incidentally, you can check that we have solved the theorem that eigenvalues of Hermitian operator are real, eigenkets are orthogonal. So you can verify that eigenvalues are real and eigenkets are orthogonal. Okay, so this is first, you can verify that since it's a Hermitian operator. And secondly, let's try to diagonalize this. So you construct, okay, so for that you first want to find out the eigenvalues and eigenkets. Okay, so find okay, and construct the unitary operator U using the eigenkets of A. How? Each column of the unitary operator U should be the eigenket of A. Okay, and finally find U dagger A U. Okay, show that it is diagonal and the diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of A. Okay, so I think this will illustrate all the ideas that we have discussed. Okay, so first we find the eigenvalues and eigenkets of this Hermitian operator. We can verify that eigenvalues are real and eigenkets are orthogonal. Then you construct the unitary operator using the eigenkets of A. Each column corresponds to each eigenket. and then you construct this U dagger AU, and this new matrix U dagger AU, let's call it A prime, that should be diagonal, and diagonal elements are the eigenvalues of A. Okay, you can do this problem as a homework. Invariance of the norm of a vector under change of basis. We know that suppose you have a general ket alpha, under change of basis, it's a unitary transformation. This vector changes to let us say ket alpha prime, and we know that this ket alpha prime is nothing but U acting on ket alpha, where U is the unitary operator for change of basis. Okay, let us look at the norm of the vector. So we have two vectors here. Old vector is ket alpha, new vector is ket alpha prime. Okay, so what is the norm of this new vector? Alpha prime, alpha prime. That's the norm, right? That's the square of the norm. So what is this? What is bra vector alpha prime? If ket alpha prime is this, what is bra vector alpha prime? It is the Hermitian conjugate of this. That is bra vector alpha U dagger, correct? That is bra vector alpha prime. What is ket alpha prime? Ket alpha prime is this U alpha. But we know that U dagger U is identity. Change of basis is a unitary transformation, and this operator is a unitary operator. If this is identity, what you get is, so what you see is that the square of the norm of the vector, the new vector, is same as the square of the norm of the old vector. In other words, the norm is invariant. Norm of a vector is invariant under change of basis. We also know that when in an ordinary three-dimensional space, if you rotate a vector, okay, its norm, that is magnitude, does not change, right? Let's consider two-dimensional. This is a vector. Suppose you rotate this vector like this, okay, then its norm, its magnitude doesn't change. Okay, it simply rotates. Its magnitude doesn't change. So in an abstract n-dimensional space also, this idea we can keep. So if norm is invariant under change of basis, it implies that change of basis is some kind of a rotation in a complex vector space. So this also gives the idea that change of basis is a rotation in a complex vector space. This concludes our discussion on change of basis. In the previous 3 classes, we have discussed many ideas. Some of them are related to each other regarding change of basis. Okay, we have seen that change of basis is a unitary transformation, and how a vector transforms under change of basis, how an operator transforms under change of basis, right? And change of basis, we can visualize it as a rotation in a complex vector space. Then we have also seen that okay, norm of a vector is invariant under change of basis, and regarding an operator, trace of an operator is invariant under change of basis, right? And we have also seen in this class, we have also seen how change of basis is related to the idea of diagonalization of an operator, okay, or the idea of finding the eigenvalues and eigenkets of an operator.